Welcome to Bringing Growers Together. This is Horticulture Wales' special celebration of the horticulture sector, staged today at the National Botanic Garden of Wales. We've got some fantastic speakers lined up, but more importantly, we've also got around 100 horticulture businesses from right throughout the supply chain, from growers, processors and retailers, through to wholesalers, suppliers and garden centres. We should be in for a great day.
Good morning. Laurie Darbalb, welcome to the Bringing Growers Together conference by Horticulture Wales. I'm Richard Edwards, I'm your MC for the day at the National Botanical Gardens of Wales, and I can't imagine a better setting for the conference, although I could imagine better weather for it. We have Monty Don to speak to us, and he will be here from lunchtime onwards. I've worked with Horticulture Wales several times over the years, most recently in the film Local Authority Supply Chains for Ornamentals, and I'm very proud of that title, which discussed the recent partnership between Newtown Town Council and Cwm-Nursery in Berrien. Previously, the council's gardeners had bought plants from the nursery and would grow them on in hanging baskets, first in the polytunnel, then harden them off outside, before we hung them up around the town to make it a prettier place. But now the council buys the hanging baskets in their entirety at the point they're ready to be hung up around the town. So it's a win-win situation. For us, it saves us time and we no longer require a polytunnel at all. For the nursery, they get to sell a higher value item.
Stephen Hedderly, Managing Director of Bedfordshire Growers, one of the largest vegetable cooperatives in the UK, addresses the audience on the importance of working together and the opportunities for cooperative working in Wales.
Good morning. The idea for me to come here is to really talk about our cooperative and how it works. And I just want to start so you understand when I say cooperative what I mean is a cooperative is fundamentally a business which is actually owned by the growers. It's about 21 million a year turnover. We supply around 30,000 tonnes of onions and about 8 million heads of lettuce. Lettuce predominantly goes to Sainsbury's, so if you go into Sainsbury's and buy an iceberg lettuce or a cos, pretty much good chance that they've come from ours. If you look at the top 4 retailers in the UK, pretty much over the last 4 or 5 years, they've gone for margin. So they've looked at taking a cost price and then building 30-40% margin on that to the selling price. And I'm sure a lot of people who supply into the retail sector kind of get very frustrated when you see the product that they sell for against the product you're selling to them for. The discounters is a completely different model. The discounters, I can remember selling cucumbers to Aldi at 30 pence and then retailing at 29 pence. So they're very much European model about getting in footfall and driving volume, and they've achieved that. That model is really hitting. But again, I'd also say that people like Waitrose and Marks and Spencer's at the top end, again, are looking, customers are recognising that there is a different quality of product and a different quality of shopping, and people are buying into that model as well. So the benefits of a cooperative, greater volume capacity, shared availability. Again, we were talking this morning about the difference between 2 areas in Wales which were 30 miles apart. I think that's a really quite important factor that, for example, if you have a cooperative member who's in, for example, North Bedfordshire, his availability could be quite different to somebody in South Bedfordshire. So having that mix within the cooperative means that some people have volume when others don't. So between the whole cooperative, you've got that availability. A single focus price consistency. So what I mean regarding this is if you're growing the same crops, you might be looking at one price, your neighbour might be looking at another price. It's silly, you're just battling each other. Have a consistent price approach, which is what we managed to do. As I've said, a sharing of knowledge, best practice, sharing of equipment, and obviously because we're farmer owned, all of the packing equipment that we use, where we net onions, pack onions, again, all comes from the farmers themselves. So they have that interest and investment for later on in their life. you become a larger player in the market, and obviously if you're a larger player, you have more power. Centralised packing operations, so rather than you have 3 or 4 different packing sites, you just have the one. And again, reducing transport costs, because everything goes centralised from the one point rather than 4 or 5 different points.
Simon Goodenough, Curator of Horticulture at the National Botanic Garden of Wales, reaches out to the industry and how they can explore exciting new opportunities together.
So if we think about the great gardens of Britain, why do people visit them? Not necessarily because they're gardeners, but because there is a reason. There is an all-pervading reason to get there. And our reason should be Welsh horticulture. It needs to be driven by you. I'm quite happy to be a catalyst. And are there ways that we could do it? Should we be having a horticultural trade show here? Rather like Four Oaks, but a Welsh version. So that growers could come here and they could talk to each other. We have a market. It's not just about selling plants, it's about talking to each other. Should we do that here? Should we have display gardens created by you, looked after by you, in conjunction with us, that are the stage for Wales? Should we be doing that? Would anybody like to come and play with me? I'm very happy to all takers. And how can we work in a way that is mutually beneficial? We obviously need to make our bread and butter, so we need to sell, we need to retail, we need to have a business head, but I would like to do that with you. I don't necessarily want to do it with Italian, German, Dutch, Belgian growers. I would love to do it with Welsh growers, but we need to talk. We need to be completely honest with each other. How does that sound to you so far? What I would really like to see is there's a whole level of horticultural expertise that we're missing out on. Yeah. There's a 20-year skill gap or more. We need, collectively, to sort that out. And very often, I think people who've actually career changed, who are driven with passion, because that, to me, is the key thing about horticulture, that's why most of you are into growing, is what we need to tap. If people can be inspired, and that's what I want us to be here, I want us to be inspiring, and I want to see the massive diversity that horticulture has to offer. But they have also got to understand that it rains and they get their hands dirty and it's pretty unpleasant, but the joy of the success of gardening and growing is massive.
The main thing for me is the connection, both with the soil and from that to gardeners, which obviously is my role and what I know about, and getting that relationship between the small producer tucked away maybe in a very remote place to gardeners everywhere, and also the planet at large, because one of the things that interests me a lot is that young people in particular are coming to gardening via an awareness of the environment, of ecology, and not seeing it just as a retreat from the world, but actually a means of going out into the world. And that is their piece of the planet. And that is becoming more and more important. I'll also be talking about the need to engage the crafts and skills that relate to horticulture. And some of those are social skills too. They're not just physical ones. And that it's about slowness, it's about time, it's about respect, about building a society that cares for the earth through its gardens and through its plants. So really it's the opposite of what horticulture can become, which is a lot of individuals doing their own thing, whether it be as growers or as gardeners. It's about pulling us all together and creating something from that.
Sounds as if it's going to be a fascinating afternoon, and I'm sure all our audience here today will thoroughly enjoy. A group of ornamental plant growers from South West Wales explain some of the benefits they've received from working with Horticulture Wales.
No, I mean, you know, the opportunity to joint purchase and also to discover what other people in your area are doing. You know, there could be someone like Charles who's supplying a product which I might have been buying from somewhere else at possibly the same price or even more, and he's round the corner and I didn't know he was there. And, you know, other people, you know, alpine suppliers who I might have bought from, you know, I might have been purchasing from, dare I say it, Holland. And, you know, there's somebody just round the corner selling what I'd want to buy. apart from the joint purchasing opportunities, which are fantastic, which means if you're a small nursery, you've got very limited power, but if you're buying with 3 people together, you can buy from somewhere that only wants to supply you with a lot. So, you know, it's definitely been an asset, definitely.
The way that Horticulture Wales put on events that would actually be specific to our interests. So we had a study tour that went and looked around other suppliers of flowers and floral products, and looking at how to develop your market and open your eyes to other ideas. And I thought that was really, really well done. We had florists come and do some talking with us and some demos and that sort of thing. And so it sort of helps you to really understand the wider market here in Wales, not just where you may have come from. So it's just a really, really good for opening our eyes to what's out there more widely.
It's the opportunity to spend several hours talking about plants without people's eyes glazing over.
In a separate question and answer session, 2 plant growers share their experiences of exhibiting at Four Oaks Trade Show as part of a shared stand organised by Horticulture Wales.
I pretty well sold everything I took, which I wasn't expecting at all. I was walking out on the end of the first day and I admired somebody else's stand because I liked the product, and he asked me what I did and I said, I'll show you, and I took him back to the stand, showed him, and I sold all of one particular plant that I grow just in that one transaction for the year, that is, that all we had left. These are huge enterprises that were interested in what we were doing.
We've established, well, especially 2 good new customers, one in Leicestershire, one in Northamptonshire, who want the grown in Wales. We offered them grown in Great Britain, but they wanted grown in Wales on the labels, and so very positive, really.
And the final speaker of the day was Dr. David Skydmore, Project Director at Horticulture Wales, who outlined the project's previous work and some of the opportunities for the future.
Horticulture Wales was launched in 2010 and is part of the Rural Development Plan projects and the Supply Chain Efficiencies Scheme. We fitted in with Welsh Government strategies. It has 9 priority sectors, and we're involved in 2 of those priority sectors, food and farming and also tourism. The title of today's conference is Bringing Growers Together, and in fact this is the last conference we'll have event we'll have as part of this tranche of funding, and therefore it was apt to call it Bringing Growers Together, because this is what we've been trying to do. We've had 4 key priorities that we've had to address: the supply chain information and its provision, providing and analysing market information, branding and marketing, which has been quite a contentious issue, and environmental best practice. We've established links with over 1,200 businesses in Wales in the supply chain. You might think that was an easy task, but it was incredibly difficult. It's difficult to find lots of the growers spread across the country and who they supply, and it's taken us a long time to do that. We've looked at innovation, the importance of new ideas, and we've looked at the unique selling points of having Welsh produce and local provenance food, and what we can do to market and increase our industry. We've looked at sustainability, and we've produced a packaging toolkit to try and introduce you to the use of sustainable materials and minimising packaging whilst keeping branding at the forefront of your products. We are coming to the end of this project, and it's been a privilege to work with you and with the team, and I hope that you feel you've gained some benefit of working with the project, but we certainly haven't finished by any means. There are a lot of things we can still do in working together, and I think now is the time to try and collect ideas together. It's been great to hear the discussions and the excitement amongst you all of talking about plants. It's great to work in this industry, and thank you very much all for coming. Thank you.
So there we have it. That's Bringing Growers Together. I think we can all agree, a very interesting event, a very worthwhile event. and something that everyone in attendance here will take something from, whether it was Stephen Hedderly earlier this morning talking about the power of cooperatives, Simon Goodenough and his inspiring talk about what the potential that the Botanic Garden of Wales here could have with the industry in Wales, David Skydmore, our project director, summing up just a few of the things that we've done over the last 4 years, and of course our guest for the day, Monty Don, and what an interesting and fascinating talk that was.